Welcome back, subscribers, and welcome new viewers. And I'm going to be reading from this book, Saturn. Saturn in aspect to the Sun. And I want to thank Pauline for this. Thanks to her question, this enabled me to make this video. So again, thank you so much, Pauline, because as you probably already know, you are not just helping yourself, but now you are assisting every single person who has this same aspect. Okay? And I love the sun. The sun is out this morning, so hopefully it's not going to be too bright for this reading. All right. And any of you who would like a written copy, you can send me a comment, leave me an email, or send me an email. All of my information is in the drop-down box below this video and every video. Okay, so Saturn in aspect to the Sun, and specifically, I always read for the hard aspects, and that's normally what is written for, because the hard aspects they're harder. They are more challenging for each and every one of us who have these aspects. So that would be Saturn and Sun either opposing, conjunct, or squaring. And this is natal. The Sun and Saturn may be seen as polar opposites in a psychological sense, together forming a unit which we call the individuality. In mythology, these two functions of the ego and its shadow are often represented as the hero and his trusted companion, such as Theseus and Perseus. I hope I said that correctly. They are also the hero and his long-standing enemy, who is also himself, such as Parsifal and the Red Knight, whose armor Parsifal later dons. The functions which the Sun and Saturn symbolize need to be seen integrated within the conscious awareness of the individual if he is to make any real steps in growth. But the human intellect is not accustomed to seeing opposites as having the same meaning, and it is often difficult for the average person to understand that his darker side, symbolized by Saturn, is the pathway by which he may find the bright light of his full potential, symbolized by the Sun. In Gnostic teaching, Jesus and Satan were the twin sons of God, each having an equally important and necessary role in the structure and unfoldment of the universe. They were symbols of the light and dark aspects of life and of the psyche, but had not yet come to mean the principles of human good and human evil in the petty sense in which we now understand these principles. The Sun is always symbolically pitted against Saturn on the birth chart, whether they are actually in aspect or not. It is for the individual to discover that they are the two faces of himself. But to perceive them in this way requires standing at the center and not wholly in the light of the conscious ego. This is another way of looking at a birth chart. It is simply a shifting of viewpoint. The relationship of the Sun by house, sign, and aspect, and Saturn taken as opposites and complements is often suggestive of the broad path of development of the individual with the necessary crises or points of reorientation which he is likely to meet as a part of his development. With the Sun and Saturn actually form an aspect, this process of integration is accelerated and rendered more urgent at the same time that it becomes more difficult. The psyche as a whole seems bent on achieving a kind of completeness and self-determination, which is not so imperative when there is no Sun-Saturn contact. Sun-Saturn contacts seem to be the mark of the individual who has the opportunity to shape an integrated and finely edged tool out of his personality components and to put this tool to work as a servant of the perfected will. The Sun-Saturn individual often deals with life by pitting himself against it, because he usually finds at a fairly early age that those things which are of value to him must be worked for. No matter how extroverted or apparently carefree a personality the individual possesses, there is usually a quality of controlled and disciplined energy about Sun-Saturn contacts. There is a careful deliberation and a concern for self-protection, which suggests that these people feel they must guard themselves against life so that life does not deal them a blow which will flatten them. So again, this is a feeling that one has with these aspects. The Sun-Saturn person is often more acutely aware of responsibility than other people, perhaps more so than his healthy or his self-expression. And again, Saturn, responsibility is one of the meanings or personality aspects of Saturn itself anyway. And then the self-expression is considered the Sun. But it is often the case with him that he has never really had the chance to be a child. And so he has never learned that naive trust in life's bounty, which permits the relaxation of effort. The echoes of his intense self-determination may also be seen in the placement of the Sun in Saturn's sign, or Saturn in the Sun's sign, or the Sun in the 10th house, or Saturn in the 5th. These are all subtly different in interpretation, but there is about all these positions the quality of self-determination. The individual must make something of his life and find his identity by the efforts of his own hands and brain. That which is accepted from others inevitably disappoints him, because it's coming from the outside in. And what this author just said is, you must find it from the inside out. The Sun-Saturn individual is frequently very successful, although he rarely achieves this success on his own before Saturn has completed his return by transit around the houses of the birth chart, and the necessary practical experience has been acquired. Okay, and a huge Saturn return is going to be between the age of approximately 28 years and 31 years. And then you're going to have another Saturn return. And I don't remember the exact age. I don't know if it's 50s. I'm not positive on that, so don't quote me on that. But there is another one in I think it's the 50s, but again, I'm not sure age-wise. 50s. Okay. Okay, I've got to find my place. Let's see here. But Sun, Saturn people are also often extreme failures. And the aspect is common in the charts of alcoholics, particularly the opposition. So it's saying, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be an alcoholic or that you are, if you have Saturn in opposition to the Sun. It doesn't mean that particularly. That's just, you just take that if that could possibly be. Maybe that's in some of your ancestral, your parents or grandparents. That possibly for some of you. Again, it's not all of you. Even if you have the opposition of Saturn and Sun. Okay. Let's see. When the contact is a close one, the individual usually is either intensely ambitious or professes to have no ambitions. So that would be conjunct, I believe. Let me see here. Let me make sure. Yes. He or she could be talking about conjunct is what I'm intuitively getting. This latter expression is typical of Saturn and is often a means by which the person tries to save himself the pain of admitting his ambitions and failing to see them realized. He may surmount great environmental obstacles to achieve his goals, or he may succumb to these obstacles and may even unconsciously amplify them to justify his failure. Whichever expression he chooses, the Sun-Saturn person may be handed certain advantages, but in the end he must work for that which he truly values. He is always offered the opportunity to become truly master of his fate. The goals which he achieves are rarely sufficient to satisfy him. It is the strength and self-confidence which he acquires in getting there that is important, and the emergence of an integrated and well-defined conscious identity. So what I'm seeing is being said is you doing it yourself, a step-by-step process, and you consciously being aware of that. And it's each step-by-step process that you go through and work through experiences and through self-earned inner achievement through each and every experience and process. That's where you are gaining that inner strength and inner peace within yourself and confidence and accomplishment, inner accomplishment. That's outstanding. That's outstanding. And conscious identity. If he does not take the opportunity offered, his failure is much deeper than a mere material failure, and it is often difficult for him to live with for any length of time. Early environmental conditions are often difficult with these contacts, even the harmonious aspects. The relationship with the father is immediately implicated, and there is the suggestion, again, father is Saturn, authority figure, and it might be a father figure or a grandfather but it's any type of authority figure that represents, that's the representation of Saturn. The relationship with the father is immediately implicated, and there is the suggestion that some disappointment is experienced through him. There's often outright coldness or rejection from the father, or the emphasis on duty, form, and material values. Sometimes the father is loving and kind, but weak, and is a disappointment because he cannot assume the strong and protective role necessary for the child's psychological balance. And again, I just want to say that that wasn't going to happen correctly. The father in some way was going to let you down, not because of the father coming from the outside in, but now you can see because having to do with this aspect. And maybe some of you have even Chiron in aspect to Saturn as well. So that's going to be another blow and injury with Chiron aspecting in a hard aspect, conjunct, opposition, or square your Saturn as well, natal Saturn. So again, this is your natal chart. This is what you were given. And so this is what was going to happen. So there's no blame. And if there was blame, now you don't have to blame anymore yourself or your father or father figure, because this was the energy coming to you at birth. This is what's so awesome about astrology. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let me find my place again. Okay. Logical. He may be a material failure or a burden because of ill health. Both ends of the spectrum are possible, along with all the shades in the middle, for the outward expression of any Saturnian aspect is always ambiguous. The meaning generally is the same. The male half of the psyche, the ego or conscious identity, must be created fresh by the individual, because he cannot inherit or acquire his identity through his own father. Again, saying it must be the identity, your specific identity must be gained through you, through your hard internal painful experiences, and then working through that. Wow. This association of Sun-Saturn contacts with a failure in the father-child relationship has important implications in the sphere of personal relationships. It is a particularly significant contact for women, because a woman's relationship with men and with the masculine half of her own psyche is affected by the disappointment and failure of her relationship with her father. And I do have an understanding of this aspect because my Saturn and Sun are conjunct. And in fact, they are conjunct. The conjunction includes Chiron. So I definitely understand. Absolutely understand. On an experiential level, she may develop hostility toward men, openly and consciously expressed, or she may carry this hostility inward and unconsciously, finding that she can express only the instinctual, feeling side of her nature and must live her masculine decisiveness and will out through a partner who becomes the father she did not properly have. And that's how it worked itself out in my situation, because I also have my Saturn, Chiron, and Sun are in Pisces in the 12th house, along with my Mars. So it was secreted away from me. I had to have assistance in bringing that out into my conscious awareness, which I did. I was so lucky to have. The psychological patterns are often very subtle with these contacts, but they usually suggest a point of friction which needs to be examined and understood, and which compels the person's attention inward to the world of the unconscious and of inner values. Handled with insight and care, Sun-Saturn contacts on the chart of a woman are suggestive of an opportunity to explore the realm of conscious initiative and creative endeavor, permitting a wholeness which is usually not developed in a woman's psyche. For a man with a Sun-Saturn contact, there's often the need to prove himself and to his father, for he often feels the failure of the relationship as an indication of personal inadequacy. This one of the spurs to ambition, which is such a characteristic feature of these contacts. The nature of the real struggle is often externalized, and the man must prove himself successful in a sometimes compulsive fashion, but it is not really material success that he seeks. It is a sense of importance and of self-worth, an acceptance of his own masculinity, not in a sexual way, but in a more general way, which will permit him to rely on his own inner center. The usual symbols of importance and identity, which the majority of men accept with clear conscience, do not suffice for the Sun-Saturn individual. He must develop his own definition of worth and must experience his own capacity to control, direct, and master his life. It's ironic that the extremes of inherited money and position and poverty and lack of opportunity can both be expressed by Sun-Saturn contacts. But in both cases, the values and the identity must be earned by the individual himself if they are to be real to him. So what I'm getting is that anything that was given to you at birth, any inheritance that was given to you at birth, you're going to squander. You're not going to see as important or value. You're not going to value it. There you go. This is why. So it has to be earned by you. You have to do it on your own, through your own blood, sweat, and tears and experiences. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Again, nothing can be earned. Our internal self cannot be earned through anyone else, whether it's our family lineage or given to us in any specific way, other than us inside. That's beautiful. The person with a strong Sun-Saturn contact often experiences a kind of guilt if he is too happy, or if he relaxes too much. There is sometimes a deep inner feeling of the need for self-denial, and this is occasionally exaggerated so that the individual brings ruin down on his own head through poor judgment, through functional illness, or through an act of martyrdom of one kind or another, just at the point where his dreams threaten to become fulfilled. Sometimes this self-imposed psychological hair shirt is concurrent with a childhood permeated with strict religious training, for the Sun-Saturn tendency toward an unsympathetic environment is sometimes expressed as an unsympathetic deity of the kind that Job encountered. Sun-centered people often find themselves attracted to more Saturnian religious symbols, for man has indeed interpreted God in his own image, and the Sun-Saturn person's God has a Sun-Saturn quality. Yeah, very strict, very, I'm just getting that, which we see in the Bible, that I will strike you down dead if you don't do as I say, if you don't adhere to my rules and what I say, which is very, very non-compassionate and what is the word that I'm trying to find, that I must say. Just one moment here. Very strict, and again, it's not it's the opposite of unconditionally loving, which is what the creator and source, whoever or whatever that energy truly is, the universal unconditional love truly is, the true creator truly is. Narcissistic is the word that I was searching for. Yes. Okay. So let me read that sentence again. That's very important. Let me read that. Sun-Saturn people often find themselves attracted to the more Saturnian religious symbols, for man has indeed interpreted God in his own image, and the Sun-Saturn person's God has a Sun-Saturn quality. This expression of Sun-Saturn contacts is an interesting one, but it is fundamentally the same in its inner meaning as the more typical expression where the material environment or the father is the villain of the piece. Whether it is a man's conception of deity of his father, or his capacity for success, or his role as a man, the presence of a Sun-Saturn contact suggests that he will get no outside help in his path toward discovery of his own identity. There are many ways in which Sun-Saturn aspects may be expressed, for the Sun is a very personal symbol of a mode of self-expression, and each individual has a different mode. But the contact is in reality a simple and basic one because of the complementary nature of these two planets. Any combination of complementary bodies, such as Sun-Saturn, Venus-Mars, Sun-Moon, suggests an almost archetypal simplicity, where the integration of the two functions becomes a psychic necessity for the individual. This is true of Sun-Saturn contacts in the sphere of the conscious identity. Okay. And with that is the end, and that is all I have for you right now. And again, if you'd like a written copy, send me an email. You can send me a comment, but I would need your email address to be able to send you a copy. And again, thank you, Pauline, and I hope you are doing well. All right, until next time.